Hey guys, I hope you're hungry. Welcome back to War Stories here on the Flintstones channel. My name is Jericho, and today I'm joined by CyannSentry.
Hi.
So, actually, before we get started, to tell you a little bit of housekeeping, Thursday's episode will be the 100th War Story, so it's going to be a special fun time for everybody. Next week, we will not have War Stories. I'm just going to do some random some random clips or something instead. Because I honestly just don't have any really good topics lined up, but we're going to have a lot of special guests and a lot of cool war stories coming up in the future, so make sure you stick around for all that. But as far as today is concerned, the reason I'm playing this Legend of Korra game is because we're going to be talking about the Legend of Korra show. So why don't you get us started?
Okay, well, first of all, we've been a fan of The Last Airbender for years, and we've watched through it probably 3 or 4 times, just straight through, because it's just fantastic. I love that show.
The second best animated show ever made after Batman the Animated Series, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. And I was very skeptical about a sequel. Like, I just thought it was gonna, I don't know, I thought it was just gonna mess everything up. It wasn't gonna play off right. It was just gonna be a money-grabbing ploy. But I was very happily wrong. I'm very grateful that I was wrong, because it's not as great as The Last Airbender, but it is really, really awesome.
The comparison I make is between the original Lord of the Rings films and the Hobbit trilogy, where in a lot of ways it is like a pale imitation, and it's never going to be as good, but it's still awesome. And if it weren't for the original, the new would be completely mind-blowing.
Right, yeah.
And there's some things about it that are even better.
Yeah, I feel like they did a lot of things really, really well. It had some amazing villains, and the only drawback there was most of them didn't get enough time. Like, it felt like every villain, they just wrapped up the story so quickly, and it felt like they were maybe scared they would get canceled and they needed to wrap everything up.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if that's why, but that's what it felt like.
Yeah, each of the 4 seasons has exactly one primary antagonist that Korra and her friends battle throughout that season, and by the end of the season they are conquered, and it's just all in a neat little bow. And that repeats for each of the 4 seasons or books or whatever. And what sucks about it, and it's like, you know, a double-edged sword or whatever you want to call it, is they're so good. Each of the 4 villains could have been a primary antagonist throughout the duration of the show.
Yeah.
And I think people would have been perfectly happy with that. But I agree, like, it never really had the viewership that Nickelodeon wanted, and it also, Korra, even more than the original Last Airbender, definitely push the boundaries of what Nick is comfortable with on its shows.
Yes, very much.
In terms of violence, in terms of subject matter, and in Korra, in terms of character sexuality.
And allegories, like,
yeah,
there were some very, very definitive, I don't know what else to call it, just allegorical stories that they had to tell that were really intense.
It explores like politicians and military dictatorships. It explores like prejudices in terms of race, in terms of class.
Even sexual assault. Like, it didn't come out and say that, but there was a point at which Korra is tied up and given a poison, and afterwards she suffers from PTSD, which is something that you just don't see in cartoons. That's really incredible. And it shows her being angry about what happened without making her just, you know, whiny and
Right.
And fearful, and she wants to be around people, but she doesn't want to be around people. She goes through depression and anxiety, and she eventually, without giving too much away, I hope, she eventually finds out that she's still got some poison in her, and she has to, like, be ready to let it go.
And right, like, it's telling that another character could remove it for her, but she refused. She says, like, you have to decide that you want it to be gone. You have to decide that you want to be past this.
Yeah, it's powerful. It's really intense storytelling that is done in a way that is safe for kids to watch, but was still very stirring emotionally and make complete sense in terms of the story itself.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even really pick up on that, but it's so obvious when you draw the comparison that, like, there's no like, that's totally what it was meant
Oh yeah,
to.
it was absolutely, there was no way that was not an accident. And it's important because the very, very sad truth is some kids do have to deal with that. And I think it's good for kids to have a hero like Korra who can take the terrible things that have happened to her and say, well, that gives me more compassion for people that I'm coming to contact with from now on. And she learned from her mistakes. She learned how to deal with people. She became stronger through it all.
Yeah, she changed and grew as a character very significantly, far more than Aang did in his show. I would say that besides the villains, which we've already said, like, are not exactly a fair comparison, all of the main cast in The Legend of Korra exhibited better character arcs than the main cast in the original, with the possible exception of Sokka.
Yeah, Sokka did have a lot of maturing to do, but I feel like that was more just the natural course. Like, he just needed to be that because he was a boy and he learned his conceptions were incorrect a lot of time. And other than that, like, Korra learned to be a little more diplomatic, I guess. Not so bossy, but still have her leadership skills.
Yeah, less aggressive, but not weak.
Right.
Not.
So that was a bit of a development, but nothing compared to what Korra does in her development. And Bolin too. Bolin is one of the side characters in this, and I don't know if what's his face, his brother Mako. I don't know if he really grew up too much.
No, I would say he is
the
least.
And Asami didn't really either so much, except she learned to forgive. But besides that, she didn't really have that many character flaws to begin with. Wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah. She was a little kind of perfect, but
yeah.
But yeah, she did. I mean, she did have her own growth. Like, she realized that, you know, she was wrong about, you know, a certain character and stuff like that. Like
she was being naive, and then she was holding on to the grudge. So there was a little something for her to grow up with.
And nobody at all was static. Like, she wasn't given nearly the screen time, but when you think of, like, Suki from the original show, she doesn't change at all, besides her feelings for Sokka.
Right.
And, like, nobody, not even the smaller characters, like, oh, come on.
Oh.
Like, Sue, she changes and grows.
Yeah, she absolutely does.
And Lin.
Lin changes a lot.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, that's kind of going to bring me to something else. So if you have something else to say about that, go ahead.
Well, just that. Well, no, I'm changing the subject as well. Go ahead.
It's exciting as a fan of the original series to have people in Korra that can I say that are related to the original people.
Yeah, that's actually where I was going to go with it too.
Because you mentioned before, and I completely agree that it's cool that it's 2 generations past.
Yes, yeah. These characters are more or less the grandchildren of the characters that from The Last Airbender.
Good job.
I
like Naga.
Good dog, like to Naga.
No. No, but I do like Naga. Not as much as Appa, of course.
No way. And then the stupid poser oplets from the new one. It's painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, they have a very deft hand with it. Like, not every other episode we're bumping into Sokka's niece and, like, all these other stuff.
Right. It's very, very few and far between, but it's done enough that you feel like it's the same world. And on with that, look at Iroh back there.
Yeah.
Feeling like the same world, I was really, really impressed with how they were able to really advance the technology. Like, they had like an industrial revolution sort of deal in between Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. So it's really cool to see the huge strides that they made in the civilization and in technology, but it still is definitely the same world, and you feel like it, and it's similar music but different, and it's similar costumes but different enough. It's just really very brilliant the way they handled that.
Yep, I totally agree. I underestimated it. Like, the fact that it took me this long to finally... Because I watched the first season as it came out, just like I watched all of the original Last Airbender just as it was coming out. But the fact that I didn't really stick with it, or... Yeah, I underestimated how awesome it was.
Yeah.
And I really love it. It is a lot of things really, really right. And really, the only things it does that I don't like are not the show's fault, because of, you know, just the pressures put on them by Nickelodeon and not the viewership they needed, and, you know, worrying about cancellation and stuff like that.
Yeah. One thing I did not like was that character that's floating there, Janora. Her little brother Milo was kind of obnoxious.
Yeah, he was like totally like a silly little kid, comic relief character, and I've already gone on more stories before about how silly I think comic relief characters are and how much I dislike them and all that sort of thing. But yeah, he is especially grating. Even after he grows up, that's another thing the show does that's kind of cool, is it has a time jump. So we get to see like new character models and everybody changing and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah.
But even as a slightly older kid, if anything, he's worse.
Yeah,
really.
I would say he's worse, because at least as, like, what was he, like 5? At least he has the, well, maybe he'll, you know, figure things out and grow up a little.
And then we learn he was doomed.
There was another chest back there. Did you see?
Thank you.
Yeah, he's annoying, but the other main comic relief, quote-unquote, character, I would say, would be Bolin. And that is a comic relief character done right.
Right, because he is also, like, the heart and soul of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he definitely represents, like... He represents Korra's innocence and naivety, and as he grows up and changes, like, we learn... You know, like he mirrors the changes in Korra.
And I like that he's masculine, he's tough, he's an earthbender, he's a pro-bender, you know, but he's sensitive.
Yeah, he's not afraid to show his feelings or mess around with his little pet red panda raccoon thing.
He's pretty darn cute. So I like that this is a show that can have a strong, even muscular female character who really, I mean, she's not afraid to get the job done and jump in and get her hands dirty, but she doesn't lose her femininity. And at the same time, Bolin is a strong masculine character who doesn't have to sacrifice his emotionality.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree with that for sure. Yeah, this is definitely a show that's not afraid to bend and break the rules and bend and break people's expectations. Oh my god!
They did it.
No, I did it.
They're expectation benders.
Yeah, expectation benders. That's what Michael DiMartino and Brian something something are expectation benders. That's pretty good. So yeah, Legend of Korra is awesome.
Yeah.
It's on DVD now, all over the place. The whole series is $30 at Walmart right this very minute. I totally think it's. I don't have far bending. It's totally worth your time to check it out. I would say absolutely watch the original first. As good as Korra is, the original is still way better.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Korra, I will certainly watch again several times, but I think I'll watch Last Airbender probably 2 or 3 times for every time I watch this again.
Mm-hmm. And you'll be missing out. You'll be doing yourself a disservice. It is very much a sequel series.
Yeah. If nothing else, to get to your heart when your heartstrings are meant to be tugged. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there are some characters coming back you won't nearly appreciate as much as you should if you haven't already grown with them in the original series.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have any other closing thoughts on The Legend of Korra?
I do, but I just don't want to spoil too much, you know?
Yeah, we've already have kind of hinted at some stuff.
Yeah.
And if you haven't watched it, you should.
Just don't expect an appa, because
you'll be sadly mistaken. Yeah.
But besides that, it is a fantastic show, and it's well worth your time and money.
Yep. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure you subscribe for more War Stories on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Again, not next week. We're going to take a temporary, just a 1-week hiatus from War Stories, but the following week they will resume. But there's content every single day, 1 video a day here on the Full Ensigns channel. So stick around for all of that. Thank you so much to CyannSentry for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you guys next time. Not about you, but we're full.